exchange so far. It has been ranked the worst in Africa, so we'll want to know why that is happening. Is it because of externalities, shocks that is affecting that as well? And the sentiments from the CEOs regarding the markets right now in light of the spiking of the prices of fuel and electricity. So there are trepidations and, of course, not good sentiments from there as well. And we have also the latest as far as the economy is concerned from the Stanbic Investment Bank, just giving the Purchasing Manager Index perception and what so far is happening in relation to August. And we can see that things are not looking up very optimistically as far as the economy is concerned, according to that trajectory, the purchasing power of Kenyans is wanting right now. And all this is in light of the high cost of living. Right, we're joined this morning by Professor Gituro Wanaina, who is a professor at the University of Nairobi School of Business. Also, we're joined by the chair of Kenya Development Corporation. This is Bunyasi Sakwa. We'll be joined also momentarily by the chair of Kenya Diaspora Alliance and the CEO of Nairobi Securities Exchange, that is Geoffrey Odundo. And we can actually delve deeper, and he will tell us why the gloomy and the doom that is happening on the Nairobi Security Exchange. But for now, let's see how the weather will be. All right, we just want to hear from the introductory remarks from our panelists this morning and what has been their perception so far. Just running by the dailies momentarily just to show you what is on the front page of the dailies this morning. And as I mentioned, we are joined by Professor Gituro Wanaina, also by Dr. Shemo Chodo and Bunyasi Sakwa, eagerly waiting to be joined by Geoffrey Odundo. Right, let's hear from Prof. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Waiting for El Nino.
Are you waiting for El Nino?
Yeah, told is on the way. Now it's mild. Very interesting to wake up and.
Yeah, I saw. I thought maybe I will see your face splashed on the pages today as one of the PSs or the cabinet secretaries.
I think our appearance is in TV last year, up to August 9, as though they are doing.
Why would you say that?
Because I think we had our own thoughts and were not taken kindly by the current regime. But interesting, you know, this the people daily say poor performers moved in the reshuffle. I'm not quite sure that's the way to deal with poor performers. Because ideally, if you're not performing, then we don't need you. But interesting that the paper decided to have those who have been moved in poor performance. Always, of course, to realign yourself as a government, I think is important. But we have seen some people who have been a bit vocal, hard on it, but delivering, and let's see what happens. Yeah. It's an interesting, and with the ambassadors now, I think most of them have been repressed. And the diaspora has gone to the highest office. So Shem is smiling all the way, you know.
Yeah, it is conjoined with the ministry.
The second, the third, perhaps, or second, whatever you look at it in the government. Yeah.
Right, let's hear from Dr. Shem Ochodo.
Professor is being very, both political and apolitical. Yes, it's nice that Foreign Diaspora Affairs has gone to the Prime CS's office. We've worked closely with the office before, and we're hoping we are going to deepen this even more. In the past, very often, we would watch over our shoulders what's Foreign and Diaspora Affairs saying. Hopefully, I recall that we've been discussing prospects of a draft session or paper for diaspora matters. Hopefully, that can now move faster because we need to enfranchise them. Indeed, I should mention the hearing, the dialogue that just ended. There was hardly any provision for diaspora to participate, but that's a story for another day. Now that you're on the appointments, it's good we now have new ambassadors coming in. We've had a few challenges in the recent past. For instance, for Paris, since Professor Judy Wahungu was recalled, and we have activities coming up later this month in Paris, and it wasn't really easy for us to know who do we deal with because there was a little bit of vacancy. The only thing I can say is that I have seen lots of names. I don't know most of them. The career ambassadors, it would have been nice to have a mix of some of the career ambassadors together with the new breed so that it's not all new. But government knows better. I want to congratulate the new ambassadors that are coming in. Those who are going out, we've worked very closely in Germany with Ambassador Thomas Amolo, and I'm hoping that he'll pass on the baton and induct the successor well, prepare him or her to carry the baton for greater heights. But otherwise, congratulations to the new appointments. The reshuffle was no doubt expected. Hopefully now there's complete constitution of government because the embassies, the high commissions, for those who have had to deal with them, and we deal with a lot of them on a daily basis, there's been a bit of wait and see and a bit of anxiety. So at last that has come to an end. Hopefully Parliament vets quickly so that the new officers take positions.
Indeed,
I wish them well.
Right. So you mentioned Thomas Omolo. Has he been moved to another?
I think we have a new ambassador in Berlin.
In Berlin.
And congratulations. I think
I
must say Tom did a good job. We have a project by the German government called WIDO.Africa, which was covering 9 countries in the EU and 6 countries in Africa. And Tom being in Berlin was very key in that regard. But I guess, like everything else, time comes when you have to pass on the baton to some other colleagues. I hope some of those career experienced diplomats will be deployed at the national office for national good. You are deployed.
You just hear there's somebody else. So that's enough.
All right. Yeah. And also from China, Bitangen Demo. I don't know where he has been because I can see there's a new entrant there as well. I wish we had that particular, we're just sorting out, we can display all those positions, how they have been allocated so far, the reshuffling.
Actually, we've in the past few days been in touch with Professor Ndemo. We hope all going well to be in Brussels or around 21st of October to meet diasporas there and some of the key missions that are involved in this GIZ WIDO project. I didn't see Professor's name. I was assuming he was maintained. But if he's taken, I think somebody else has been taken to China. He was no doubt a good diplomat and also an informatician, I should say. Professor Ndemo Bitange.
Should also sad. You lost Jerry Yonge.
Yes, of course. I was assuming the BAL would give an opportunity to record our condolences to the family, friends, relatives of Njeri Yonge, co-founder of Wananchi Online, which they co-founded with former CS Joe Musheru. While they were working at Internet Solutions, Njeri, who had humble beginnings as a hairdresser, rose to become marketing manager of Internet Solutions, while Joe Musheru was the CTO. And the two of them decided maybe we try this thing on our own and formed Wananchi Group. May the Almighty comfort the family.
Indeed, and even as we mourn and condole with the family as well, Kenya has been ranked the first actually when it comes to e-infrastructure, according to the latest report. So I think having Njeri and also Musheru, who laid the foundation of where we are as far as the digital highway is concerned, is very key as well.
In terms of laying the foundation, I'm not sure there are others who did it before they did.
Which is Dr. Shemu Chodho.
Not alone. Not alone with others here. At least internet came through my one of my bedrooms. But there are others, even after me, who came in, like Professor Ndemo and Engineer Peter Maina, who's relocated to New Jersey, in the US. And others. But yes, they played a significant role because Internet Solutions, Kenya Web, Africa Online, and of course, Wananchi Group were some of the major first early movers. So yes, they played a significant role. And then when Jerry moved over to Canada, as a member of Kenya Diaspora Alliance, we stayed very close. She was very concerned about the effect of electromagnetic radiation on health, and particularly during the introduction of the 5G technology. A number of our colleagues had concerns on health issues, but that's perhaps a story for another day that needs to be looked at. I'm hoping institutions like Cambridge and others will do the requisite research just to ensure that some of these new technologies are not harmful to the human beings. But I think she also got some spiritual engagement at some stage. And then we kind of, for the past 1 year, we haven't really been in touch. So I wouldn't say, but we have asked the Kenya-Canadian Association, which is our representative body in Canada, just to let us know what the plans are. But for now, all we can do is pray for the family and request for comfort.
All right, so let's hear from Bunyasi Sakwa. Good to see you.
Thank
you
you
were
very
missing
much.
in action last week, I think for the past 2 weeks.
I was missing in action a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Some local engagements that kept me away. Today is an interesting day. I see this cabinet reshuffle largely as a tactical maneuver by the president.
We shall come to the cabinet reshuffle, but we can get to introductory remarks with that as well. Let's just hear from you.
It's a day in which, as you look at the day's news and so on, I look at the cabinet reshuffle as one of the key events of the day. I think a number of things have moved well for the country. We have had the AFCON games that might come down the pike. Some good news is always good. I had an interesting television interview yesterday by the leader of Azimio. He was very relaxed and very thoughtful, different from the usual posture. I think this was, I ended up watching it all because I found it quite interesting, showing more, moderation in how things need to be done. So I'm hoping that this is the beginning of greater focus on issues that matter for the day on all sides, rather than any brinkmanship in doing things. That should be good news for us politically and also for the economy. You get things done when you're calm and collected and so on. I can't say much more.
All right, and what is happening with the KDC right now?
KDC, we are trying to... KDC is a relatively... I don't know if about 40 billion is large or medium. I think as far as financial institutions go, it's probably bigger than small, about medium. because many of the bigger institutions are in the hundreds of billions. And we're struggling to sort of shake it loose and have it grow. There are many options now that are in the offing that we can probably look at so that it can play its role. It has a huge role to play for which it's not yet fully set up to do. So we're working on that.
All right.
Yeah.
And of course, you have a new CS as well.
I have a new boss.
That is Rebecca Miano has been moved to trade and investment.
I have a new sheriff in town.
You have a new sheriff in town.
I have worked well with the Moses Kuria in terms of he has a very brilliant spectrum of ideas from which you can really pick what is doable immediately and explore new grounds. That was a good thing with him. I think he had no time for bureaucratic processes, and that was a challenge because in government, everything is if you don't hear the word procurement, you'll hear the word approval by various agencies. I sometimes ask myself, how the hell do these institutions work like this? And Moses had no time for that kind of delay. So I liked working with him because I like that intellectual side of doing things. He understands what he wants to do, and he has a broad spectrum for the future, which I think is very good. I have only met the new CS on one occasion. I found her very collected. She has been a senior CEO for a long time, very collected. So I think she may be different from Moses in terms of what spectrum she wants to carry along and at what speed. But I have no doubt that we will get a thoughtful and competent leader in the new cabinet secretary in Ms. Miano.
Fantastic. All right, and of course we shall be looking at that, who has moved where, and on our top stories as well, you can get an inkling of how also the reshuffle has happened, and just to run you by as well on what is happening with the principal secretaries as well, what has been the latest movement as well. As soon as we have that up on our screens, then we shall run it by you. Now, 3 people have been confirmed dead while scores are nursing injuries following fresh ethnic clashes in Kisumu. If we just move on with the auto cue, and that story is our first story.
Distraught families gathered at Nyabondo mortuary in Nyakach, Kisumu on Wednesday after their loved ones were killed in an attack by a known group of people at Sondu area on Kisumu-Kericho border. The family of David Otieno Oliech is among those in mourning. Brian Odhiambo, a 23-year-old student at Kaimosi Technical College, met his fate in an equally brutal fashion. He had his hand chopped off and several cuts on his head and neck.
The boy was attacked at night in a house where he was sleeping. So he was cut several times. The head, the hand, his left hand is chopped off, the legs and all that. So he has succumbed to those cuts.
Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o said it was unfortunate that the ethnic clashes in Sondu were happening even as President William Ruto is set to visit the lakeside city on Friday. His Kericho counterpart, Dr. Eric Mutai, has urged Nyong'o against playing politics with the lives of innocent Kenyans, stressing the importance of mature and constructive dialogue during the challenging times.
Shifting of blames will not provide a solution to this problem. I have seen my counterpart, my senior brother and elder brother from Kisumu, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o. He has given out his sentiments consistently, pointing out that this menace is actually led by Kericho. I would wish to indicate that as leaders, it is not the time to cast aspersion. It is not the time to play politics into the lives of innocent people, but it's time to sit and show direction.
Religious leaders have also urged the government to find a lasting solution for the perennial clashes.
It is our prayer from today that something will be done. If it is a matter of also increasing the security organs, please let it be done so that we live in a peaceful environment the way we've been in Sondo.
We are requesting the national government, kindly please help us have a police post of the GSU just near our border. That way at least we'll have some hope that in case of any eventuality that has happened like this, then we'll be safe.
Tunapopigana vita katika hali ya kutegemea mambo ya uvumi, aidha tusaidia, tutaharibu mji wetu. Kama siku ya leo mashule zote ambayo siko Sondo town pale zote zimefungwa, watoto wameenda, wengine hata wana wasasi wao wanakimbia huko na kule, hawana mahali ya kukimbilia.
The boundary between Kisumu and Kericho counties has been contentious for years, with original boundary believed to have been behind Sondo police station, which was in Kisumu County. In 1992, the border was taken back to Kericho County. In July this year, there was another clash between the communities at the Kericho-Kisumu border. Bramwell Bwire, KTN News, Kisumu.
Well, now to the National Dialogue Committee as well. We want to follow up what was happening yesterday. And this is all about, of course, elections and the cost of living, which is up next. Well, that is happening, of course, with a bit of technical challenges. I just want to hear from also the CEO of Nairobi Security Exchange, Geoffrey Odundo, who is here with us just to tell us a bit of where he has been. I haven't seen him in a while. Good morning.
morning, Deval.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you all. In
Yes.
fact, Prof and Shem, we haven't met for a while too here.
Virtually.
Yes, virtually, yes. And we haven't met at all. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, in fact, I had bugbears and fears as well that you won't show up.
Yeah, no,
because maybe in the cabinet reshuffle, your face was there. And,
probably I missed out.
I thought he was still in Barbados. Or was it
Bermuda?
Yes,
Bermuda.
yes. But good to see you, and we shall be delving deeper to just look at the current state of play of how Nairobi Securities Exchange is happening. But we just want to doggedly follow what was happening with the National Dialogue Committee yesterday. This has been a week of a submission, and now the wrap-up of it, and now it shall be buckling down to make sure they come up with the report from the National Dialogue Committee. Let's just follow the story how it was yesterday.
After 8 days of back-to-back presentations of public memoranda and oral submissions, the National Dialogue Committee has kicked off the process of separating the chaff from the wheat on the issues presented. The committee, which had its meeting Wednesday at Bomas, announced it had hit the road running with the technical teams taking charge of the process.
Today, we, as the technical team, we were sitting to have a quick overview of what transpired during those maybe 8 days, and also quickly think through as what is next. And the immediate task that we have left with the Secretariat is to go through the memorandum, go through the oral presentation.
Despite reports that the team would retreat to Naivasha to dot the I's and cross the T's on the report, the team would be forced to finish the job at the Bomas of Kenya due to financial constraints.
We unfortunately have no facilities. We are here to get a shilling. Even the waters and the conference facilities, we are here courtesy of a well-wisher, one of our civil society organizations.
But it also means that some of the things that are done traditionally may not happen. So we are likely to do all that work from Bomas. So even the retreating may be just a retreat within Bomas.
The Jubilee Secretary General and Azimio Technical Team Leader Jeremiah Kioni has, however, raised a red flag on the Kenya Kwanza team's commitment to the dialogue process.
KK are not serious with these talks. Icing on the cake is the insults that we have endured in that hall, and especially from Omar.
I will have a session with Omar and teach him how we did foreign exchange liberalization, even under Moi.
And I will also teach you what we are doing right now.
No.
The differences between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio played out in the open on the last day of presentations of views, with the ruling coalition disowning a written submission moments after the copies were shared with members.
They were supposed to present a day earlier. They skipped. They said they were not ready. They came to present. When they came to present, they circulated a document. Halfway through, they disowned the document.
And in your written memorandum here.
You don't have a written memorandum.
What is it? Sorry.
No, that's yours. We will do oral submissions.
That's what is
signed by all of us. Yeah, and this was occasioned by the contents of your letter.
You know, when you stop being childish, Omar.
Other heated sessions also saw bitter exchanges fly as both sides engaged in a bitter war of words.
Hassan. So you'll never be governor of Mombasa, I can give it to you.
That's why
now this is going.
President of Kenya, I can give it to you.
Most of the teams that presented their views have called for additional counties and the creation of the office of the official opposition leader, among others. The committee will have its next sitting on Friday as it rushes against time to complete and hand over its report to Parliament with 25 days left to go. Emmanuel Tor, KTN News.
All right. Spoke lots of business where tea farmers at Iria in a tea factory in Othaya have protested following the release of this year's bonus payment rates. The farmers say the rates are way below what they expected, especially after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua vowed to fight cartels who had infiltrated the sector. They now want the factory management to address their concerns, failure to which they have threatened to sell their tea elsewhere. Clement Masomo has more.
When Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua took over the mantle to lead the fight against cartels in the agricultural sector, hopes were high, especially among tea and coffee farmers. The farmers said the sectors had been invaded by a well-connected chain of cartels who knew so well how to maneuver around and make a living without breaking a sweat. Months later, farmers are yet to realize the returns they anticipated.
Na sisi Iria in factories wa mwisho, sababu wale wengine wamepewa 57, wengine 40 something, na sisi tumepewa 38.
At Irene Tea Factory in Othaya, Nyeri County, a group of farmers are concerned about the returns. They say their colleagues in the neighboring factories are smiling after the bonus payment rates were released. They have a different tale. Each of them will be paid at most 38 shillings per kilo of green leaf tea they delivered at the factory.
Na wale wako hapa wamepewa 57. Wakati chai hapa tumesherehe, tukishachelewa tukileta chai, tupeleka huko Kitigwe inanunuliwa. Tofauti iko wapi?
Sasa nikiambiwa nielimishe mtoto, hata inaweza hata kulipa madeni hakuna. Pesa ya kulipa madeni hakuna. Sasa tutafanya nini? Wanataka tuchukue kamba. Na sisi tunalima na tumefanya vile wanataka.
The farmers are accusing factory management of failing to introduce new ways of making more money, failure to purchase orthodox tea processing machines, and poor management of factory resources.
Walikuwa wamesema kuwa tukibadilisha hizi vikapu watatupatia pesa mzuri. Tena sasa bonus ikifika palifikaga walianza kutuambia ati watatupatia na 38, hao wengine wanapatiwa na 40. Shida kama mimi mkulima hapa, hata hii naba nilipatiagwa na mzee. Sasa hata sitaki tena.
Tuko na ushugu sana sababu hawa watu walituambia tuchune majani mzuri sana. Na sisi tukachuna bili na hiyo kadogo. Meri na murori. Haya tukichuna hiyo tunagojea hii bonus. Sababu tuliambiwa tukiingia kwa serikali tutapewa 50% ya hii majani yetu. Na saa hii hakuna kitu.
Their cry comes 2 weeks after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua held a meeting with the directors from various tea factories across the country, which the farmers say ought to have included them for clear picture of the state of affairs.
Tuna majani hapa, hatukuambia majani hiyo inaleta nini. Hata wakati ile yote tulienda kwa mkutano huku general meeting, hatukuambia yani property zenyu zinaleta hii na hii. Hakusema. Tukajiuliza, ni wao tulikuwa tukiwalimia? Si tuwefanya hiyo yote mambo tuwe na pesa.
The farmers have threatened to sell their green leaf tea elsewhere if the factory management will not take action towards addressing their concerns. The highest paying factory in the country is the neighboring Gitugi tea factory, paying 57 shillings and 38 cents per kilo, while the lowest paying is Nyakoba, paying 35 shillings per kilo. Clement Masombo, KTN News.
All right, we just want to buckle down to what is happening currently regarding especially what we have in the dailies today with the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and also what the CBK had come up with regarding the sentiments from the CEOs regarding the cost of living and electricity. And since we have that particular revelations that happened yesterday, I just want to give you the details of what really transpired so that we can get along with the story together. And it says that the elevated fuel and electricity prices have cut the purchasing power of consumers, hurting demand for goods and services. A Central Bank of Kenya survey capturing concerns of Kenya chief executive has shown, and the CBK said its latest CEOs and market perception survey had shown increased concerns on the rise in fuel and electricity prices, which usually filter into the economy through increased cost of other goods and services. The elevated fuel and electricity prices have cut the purchasing power of consumers, hurting demand for goods and services. This is what Central Bank of Kenya survey capturing concerns of Kenya chief executives has shown so far. So this is the blowbacks of the high cost of living that is been exacerbated and compounded by the fuel prices as well as the cost of electricity. And this is worrying the CEOs. So let's just begin with Professor Gituro Anaina. So right now we are actually seeing the blowbacks and the effects of the taxation, and this is heavily pegged on the fuel prices and electricity. According to the latest survey from the CBK, what will be your input?
I think even Odudo is good he's here, because one thing I always believe.
I was avoiding to so that we don't start with Odundo, we begin from, yes.
The securities market is the barometer of any country. It tells you what is happening in it, and even you look at in terms of what the CBK talking about. There's a very interesting quote I got from the deputy president in Ghana, and he said that you can't learn in the economy by propaganda. An interesting point he brought that the movement of the foreign currency, particularly the dollar, will smoke you out. It will tell you what how the economy is performing. Now we're talking about 150. So it's still tough times ahead of us. And when you get that kind of headline in the Business Daily, we need to step back and ask ourselves what we need to do. A bit disappointing of Kipra report. I think they had 6 or 9 points of how to deal with it. And one of the key things which probably missed so much is what you're talking about, power. Umeme, as I say in Swahili. And that is going to have a lot of impact, particularly when you look at the manufacturing in this country, where the cost is so high. And also where, if you look over the last 20 years or so, our imports and exports always a trade deficit. And that is perhaps moving in a more dangerous position, because a lot of imports we do, and we are doing this, the dollar as a currency. So it's a bit perhaps looking at what do we need to do to address as it is. If you look in terms of the performance, even within the continent, the countries which are performing, we are no longer among the countries which are performing well. I forgot to say about last week, about 2 weeks ago, I was in Uganda, and this PS, equivalent to the PS treasury there, was really boasting in a way that they are not increasing the taxes, they have enough dollar reserves and all that, and you felt like walking out of that meeting. And steps back, we need to really find how we are going to manage that. Really, I would like not to be in a position like my friend Odudo here. What's happening there? or Thuge for that matter, and poor Thuge, very brilliant economist. But the cartoon in The Nation summarized what he did asked me. If you look at the cartoon at The Nation, it tells the whole story. And you can see the deputy president.
I'm not able to project the cartoon today. Yes.
But there are two guys in town who are really saying what's happening here. Yeah, so to me, if we can actually have a very constructive discussion with them, as Derito will always say that they come in when you're in intensive care, but they come intensive. The point of being taken to intensive care is that the doctors will work you and you probably get out of it. But in this case, you go there and you find a way to the grave, and perhaps that's something we do. So, to answer your question, the cartoon summarizes extremely well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Shemo Chodo, what do you think about the latest survey and the CEO's sentiments?
The BAL, I don't think it's very surprising. A major, for me, a fundamental issue here, and with a rider that I'm sitting amidst economists of no mean repute, and of course the CEO of the Securities Exchange. But I think a fundamental issue here is the dollar rate conversion. In fact, even though Prof was being modest to say 150, I think it's getting close to 155, if I'm not mistaken. So whether this is leading to hoarding of dollars, I saw there'll be a fine of 10 million shillings for people.
Yeah, we'll come to that, yes.
Yeah, so I think the exchange rate is the major reason why the stocks, in my view, are losing value. But I think I also see a silver lining in this regard. Maybe it's time that we've paid more attention to domestic investment at the capital markets. I think, and the CEO could confirm, if still about 70% of the assets there are foreign owned. I think in the past few days I've seen about 1 billion shilling plight going out. You know, if there were Kenyans, then this is our home. We have really no other home to go to. Yeah, so it would still be circulating within the economy. But in addition, something very interesting also happened the past 1 week, which I commend the Treasury for, the CS, the PS, and maybe the new governor of the central bank, the signing of the PAPS agreement. PAPS is the AU Afri-Exim-driven project, Afri-Exim in Cairo. That's the Africa Export-Import Bank. And PAPS is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. I'm happy that we are moving in that direction because that should allow us to trade with our local currencies. In fact, I would have even gone further to say, what are we still waiting for with the EAP, the EAPS, that's the East Africa Payment and Settlement System, which already I think was assented to by the heads of states alongside the East African Monetary System. So for me, that's a way. It may not solve the whole problem, but since Uganda is our major trading partner, Tanzania is as well, at least if we deal with those issues in local currencies, it's a way towards finding a lasting solution. In the end, we should be able to trade in our convertible. Hopefully we have a regional convertible currency, and I pray it should be Kenya shilling, and I hope there will be an Afro one day so that Africa's got its, just like Europe has its euro. That's what I would add. But the experts are in the house.
All right. So these sentiments, as we can see, what we've been discussing, that the much you continue to tax your economy, it reaches the point of deflection. And just following what we had also the dailies, we saw some even of Kenyans right now, they're opting and electing to leave their vehicles at home and use a public means of transport. We've seen fuel consumption also from the petrol stations right now have actually fallen down heavily in the last, compared to the last 5 months. This has really taken a dip. So is it now spurring and stimulating economy, or is actually now becoming a drawback to the economy as it is?
First of all, I want to...
Just taking it also with the CEO's sentiments.
Yes, I want to take note on a light note that Honorable Shem has changed his currency of preference. You remember we had some strange name.
Yes, the Lumi, of course.
the Lumi currency.
To the Kenya shilling. No, first of all, I think what this is illustrating is that managing an economy is like being a physician. To get somebody healthy, you can't focus perhaps on one part of the body and say get that going and so on, and you forget the others. We went for a long time mesmerized by the infrastructure focus. And unfortunately for us, because infrastructure does not necessarily stimulate our economy, it probably stimulates the Chinese or the wherever the contractors are coming from, we import it. When we have large pushes, we have to import even cement and so on. So the multiplier effect is, it quickly goes beyond our borders, and so we don't have the same impact. And now we come back to realize that all these things must be about people. A balance is required. And I think rebalancing is quite a delicate issue. When we were saying, and I did 3 years ago, I made a lot of noise nationally about the issue of public debt and how that was going to crowd out domestic expenditure, but in fact also challenge the financing of basic services. And it was difficult to get that through the din of now we're doing well. Look at Nairobi Expressway. Yes, of course, we look at Nairobi Expressway, but it doesn't have much impact beyond the borders of the city, the way people might have expected. So the taxation thing is a rush to try and fill up the gap, but it needs to be calibrated. And as you say, if the observations are in fact that consumption, let's say, of fuel is declining, which would mean that the revenue that would be generated will also in fact go down, it means that Kenyans are beginning to react rationally to economic stimulus, I would say. For the longest time, this traffic, so the traffic on the road had never seemed to decline. And if as a result of the pricing and consumption adjustments, people will begin to leave their cars at home, maybe our transport system will begin to improve. People who have been driving will go by public transport or will pool. And that's how economies all over the world react. When the times are hard, you have to find ways in which you can make adjustments. I think in Kenya for a long time, the middle class live in a bubble. That nothing seemed to matter. But I think now it's sort of pitching a bit. People begin to make rational decisions. And the economists should be able to make new assessments on the elasticities of these price increases they have got, that will have limits of how much. When you can increase to a point where your revenue begins to decline. This part of what you have just said here, and that's what is being observed and so on. So I think that we just got to a point where our economy is getting a little more sophisticated, and our consumers are leading the way. They're saying, if you increase beyond my reach, then I want to go that way. And then you're now to look for other ways which you're going to get that done. And sometimes we go to the ridiculous. As I conclude, in a reggae, a curious example, 95 girls fall ill and they don't know why. And the parents say, no, one take out our children who are not in affected. School says, no, you are not. And the kids, riot. And so the parents come and take them, and they're told, give 4 reasons why you would want to bring back your child, why you took away your child from school. We can get to that kind of level of absurdity, kids could probably die and so on. I think in Kenya also we have got this tendency to look the other way, even when things are hitting us. And I think now we have the opportunity to say, for heaven's sake, don't just look at the revenue curve. It's not going to work the way you want. Look at what's happening in fuel, if the numbers are correct. But also look at your expenditure basket. That's something we've talked about in this forum for a long time. Manage expenditure. And now, of course, the president said the other day that they are seeking to reduce public expenditure by 10 million. 10%, sorry, not 10 million. 10%, I guess 10% of the budget. I don't know if it's aggregate budget. That will be a couple of 100 billions on top of 300 billion that he started with when we started. And if we could go that route and begin to truly reduce our expenditure, we can still grow fast over time by taking the pitch you can finance fully, as rest of the money is with the people, and they make private decisions as they move on. And if you take a 10-year horizon, you might find that even that slow growth, apparently slow growth, will be cumulative with lower risk of sliding. Well, there's always a chance. So I really think now is going to be the time to depoliticize this expenditure rationalization and hopefully get the government now to have a free hand to sort of cut back where they should and they must. Because it has been almost another 10 years of partial and lopsided growth.
Indeed. Right, thank you. Let's hear from Geoffrey Odunga. I wonder if actually this survey passed your desk as well. As you contributed, you can tell us more.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Dubal. And again, apologies for coming late. I think I just couldn't get the exit out of here. I went straight to the expressway.
I suspected.
So I had to do a total U-turn.
I understand.
Yeah, but I think, first of all, to say that we do appreciate that these reviews are important. We do participate in the survey of the central bank, offering our perspectives, especially with regard, first of all, as a listed company, and then as a market. So as a listed company, of course, the last 9 months, of course, have been presenting certain challenges with the business facing certain challenges, for instance, around the trading volumes. We're looking at what Shem was talking about, attrition by international investors back to their markets, high level of volatility, and of course the rebalancing of the allocation between foreign and local investors, with foreign now sort of reducing, and those have been affecting the trading volume. As a market, historically, we have been heavily dependent on trading on equities, but we have, over the last 8 years, diversified our product offering, and today we're offering a lot of other alternatives. In fact, in Africa, we are the second most innovative exchange, second most diverse exchange after the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in terms of products. So having said that, so the survey definitely does reflect the concerns of CEOs. CEOs are now concerned about the level of inflation, the rising interest rates, the issues around risk management, and those become key concerns for us. Now, as a market, and I think this is a very interesting discourse. I think the last 2 days have been quite exciting to be on the headlines.
Yes, it's a pity that I can't project right now. What is the headlines? We have the monkeys hanging on the lines.
Yeah.
But you will tell us more.
So certainly, markets globally are facing low levels of trading. In fact, I was looking at the US market the other day. The Dow Jones is still sort of depreciating on the back of rising interest rates. So it's not a very local phenomena. But just zeroing in home, we've seen a recession in terms of the trading performance of the market from the beginning of the year, with the index now having lost about 25 basis points. So we do appreciate that's a reality. However, I think when you're looking at a market performance, you need to look at it holistically. Don't just look at the price movements, look at the tradability volumes. And that's the argument we have with one of our rating agencies. All markets are ranked based on the number of tradable shares. And this is what the methodology used by the other two rating agencies. This is FTSE and MSCI. And the FTSE ranking today, and I've seen that in the Business Daily, sort of is reflective of really what's going on in the market. And one thing I appreciate about this is that they've also looked at it in terms of peer-to-peer reviews. So you're looking at Africa. So we had an issue with the ranking offered by the Bloomberg, because it says it's a global ranking. And when we looked at the methodology that they used, they've used the total number of issued shares of a company. So Safaricom, for instance, if the issued shares is 10 billion, that is what they're using as a base, as a basis of multiplying and deriving that product. Yet you should use the tradable shares. What is actually free floating? It's a bit of a science in terms of how you arrive at that, but that's been the larger issue. The key concerns and what's affecting the market, of course, is the rising interest rates globally. So what has happened in the global markets, the Fed Reserve rate, which ideally is really like I would call the what everybody looks at in terms of the direction of interest rates globally, have been raising interest rates in the last few years. And this is largely to tame inflation in the US and even the UK and the Europe. Now, what happens is when these interest rates rise in those markets, the global investors reallocate their capital. Now, the allocation criteria normally is that the preference first is developed markets, and they come to the emerging markets and the frontier markets. Kenya happens to be in the frontier market. And I must say that we should be proud that we're actually members of the frontier market. In fact, there are only 4 exchanges in Africa that sits in the frontier market, and our weighting is fairly reasonable. So when capital goes back to the US, then there's pressure on the dollar, okay? So the shilling loses ground, and hence there's investor flight, and it's flight to safety. So that's what's really happening. A lot of international capital is going back to the developed markets, and that's what's happening. And so the frontier markets are not getting the right level of allocation. And naturally then, our stocks are affected, and the price attrition happens. The price decline, rather, that happens. So we have seen that that's been one of the key reasons. The other one, and maybe not to belabor the point, is the rising interest rates. So if you look at the fixed income market of the NSE, we are doing extremely well. We are 79% up month on month. Kenyans are now investing in treasury bonds, in treasury bonds and treasury bills because of the yields. Central Bank has launched a new account opening portal that is very easy to open accounts. So there's now more awareness that we can get better yields. And when you have heightened risk as a result of inflation and these kind of issues, the asset that you always want to invest in is a fixed income asset, because you think that's where you're relatively protecting your capital. And that's what's affecting the market. So the markets in Nairobi are inversely related. When fixed income markets are going up, equity markets then suffer. And that's the kind of behavior.
Right. We want to take a short break. When we circle back, we shall interrogate that, because according to this ranking, you are the worst performing in Africa, and you have at least some hesitation that you can see that with that particular headline. Why is that? And everyone is talking about externalities. Just as you mentioned, we have the dollar that is going way through the roof, also affecting the capital attrition, as you say. We have investors' flight from the Nairobi Security Exchange. But over the years so far, in terms of also stimulation of the IPOs, there have not been enough upticks on the Nairobi Security Exchange. We want to know why. And should you think from your own assessment, this particular headline is not fair, is not right? So you'll answer that on the other side of the break. We take a short break. You're watching Sokoni here on Morning Prime.